Anyway, that's a bit disappointing that it won't run, but I guess I've got enough fodder for to make a movie out of this. So I'll make a movie, and then hopefully next movie, hopefully it's running. This one's not running. We'll put a bit of a update out on it, and I have to go. I'm going to take a road trip tomorrow, going up to Ontario, taking the Tiguan, and day after tomorrow, and taking the Tiguan and a U-Haul trailer, and I'm going to pick up another Jewel. So you can look forward to seeing that. That's all for today, and likely all for this week, because tomorrow I got other things going on, so I won't be doing any movieing. So see you next week, I hope. Yeah, so here, now, do I have that lens all covered with stuff? I'll check. Yeah, so here I am. I went to clean the screen, I got everything messed up. Something new there, eh? So, hint is to clean the screen with the thing turned off. Now, today, I was gonna clean off that table because I needed a table in here, right? See the one on the other side of the welder there. But then I remembered, oh yeah, I've got a nice workbench here that was all covered with stuff. So here I've cleaned that off, and I'm sort of ready to go. And here's all the tools that I've brought over here, like lots of them. Anyhow, that'll be all right. So today's goal is to maybe, we'll just see here what's going on. This thing here, which is, what is it called? I'm not really sure what it's called. A bellows kind of thing, but it controls how much fuel goes into the injectors through this device here. Now this device here, I'll likely take that all apart and clean it up too. But first I'll start with this one over here. Yeah, so here we are. And anyhow, this thing here, I've got the book out, right? There's the book. It's pretty simple. Disconnect battery, remove rubber boot from air sensor. Done. It's over there. Right there. Yep. Clean fuel distributor through the area of fuel connections. So clean that up. Catch escaping fuel. Detach wire plugs, injection lines, control pressure line, fuel return line, and fuel feed line. So that's easy to do, right? Loosen all the 6 Allen head bolts and remove the mixture control unit. Installing. Always use new fuel things, new gaskets and stuff, right? Anyhow, there it is, like that, right? Then it's got to remove and install, so like it's got instructions here to go through it all, so I'll do that. I'll just take it apart and see what's going on. Yeah, so here now, is that focusing? I hope so. I marked them as like 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I marked on here too, 1, 2, 3, 4, so that I'll know later which one goes where. And then the rest of it's pretty obvious where it goes. Yeah, there now, these are all removed, and I've got them taped together. I lost one of those little washers down in here that I'll find it and put it in the right place. It goes in number 2 here. Now, these Allen keys, so here's your Allen key thing. That goes in, and there's 6 of them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They come off, and then the thing is supposed to come off of there. We'll just see what happens here. Yeah, that came out of there. Like that they were all they weren't even tight. They were finger tight, so that's part of the issue. Likely leaking there. Not that that side of it shouldn't matter, except that it lets some dirt in. Now here's the thing out here. And I bet I can just take it all apart and just see what moves pretty freely here, but I'll bet you needs some cleaning. So I'll clean it up and see what happens. Looks like it's pretty simple. Okay, here we go. Yeah, there. It's recording. See what happens. Anyway, I'll take this apart and then one bolt out. I'm not the first guy to be ever into this thing, so. Yeah, so in here, there's supposed to be some little filters, but I don't see them in there, like little screens. I thought that I could pull them out with that screw, but I don't see anything in there. So they'll have to be found and put new ones in sometime, right? Anyway, now it's all apart. I cut my finger. So I'll go ahead and I'll clean it up, put it back together. And then see how things go. So you don't have to watch me cleaning stuff, do you? No. Yeah, there now. So everything's cleaned up. Now if I can remember how to put it back together, right? And all these airways are clean. That thing there was very yucky. It's got a little bit of yuck still on it. I'll see if I can clean that off a bit more. Whoops, pointing the wrong way. Then everything else, so all those, I know where everything goes, I think. And I'll see if I can get it back together. Like I have 10,000 O-rings, so, and they're metric size. I got metric size O-rings. Hey, I'll see what I can do about putting it back together. Yeah, so there was another seal like that one there, right in there, inside that. Can you see that? Yeah, inside there was another seal, so I pulled it out and replaced it. There you go. Now here's the hardest bit to get together. So I put new seals on here and here, O-rings, but these little snap rings here, to get them over the edge of this, there's just the plastic there that holds that tight from moving back and forth. Anyway, I got them on after 100 tries. Now I have to put these things in here and put O-rings around those, eh? So I'll go over to the vise and slide it together. So this part here goes in like this, and then it slides in until the threads come out. So I'll put what do you call it? I'll put a socket over this end and push on it with the vise at that end, and put some oil on it so it goes in easy, right? I'll just use this multi-duty lubricant. I'll be back. Yeah, there now. It's these O-rings go on. Those are just little spring fit things in there. Then this goes on here. Yep, and then in underneath there, like you can't see it, but there's one, oh no, right here. There's a little thing for sealing. Who knows what it hits against, but there's like a seal there. Anyway, now I'm going to turn it over and put it on that way, so those spring things end up right. Then I'll put a couple of screws in, and that should push it all together, we hope. We'll see what happens. Yeah, there it is back together. That shaft just pushed up in there. I think it needs pressure from the other side to push it down. I'm not really sure on that. Anyway, but you know how much I love doing things twice. I have to take this part off of here because I forgot to put a seal in underneath there. Anyhow, I'll do that and I'll get back to you. Yeah, so here I am now. Try number 2, watching about there somewhere. If you can see that. Here it comes. I'll just give it more juice. Get the air out of the system. That should be pressured up. Not a great blast, that one. Pressure it up once more and see. Maybe I don't have enough pressure on it. I don't know. Well, it's cracking enough to put cracking enough to put fuel out through the thing, so I'll give it another go here. Might have to take that one off again and give it another clean. See what happens here. Bit better, not bad. I'll stick it back in for now and just see if the damn thing will run. Maybe that'll show if it's rising. Yeah, so now I spent last week and then a day or two over the weekend. I didn't do much yesterday for whatever reason, but that I have ordered a fuel accumulator, which this car is missing, and don't know whether that's going to solve the problem or not, but the internet gurus do say that if it doesn't have a fuel accumulator on it, it's very difficult to start, which indeed it is very difficult to start. The fuel accumulator is like a, I don't know if you have a pressure system for your, I have a water well here and I have a pressure system on it, and the water pump fills up a pressure tank, and the pressure tank, makes it so that the water pump doesn't have to jar all the time. It's got like some elasticity to it. So I think that's the same thing a fuel accumulator does. It allows the pressure to build up and makes it so that the fuel pump can keep up with the pressure requirements. Anyway, that's all I know for now. When the accumulator gets here, I'll stick it on and then see if I can get anywhere with it. Now, that's it for this one for today. Don't know what I'll do now. I've got two choices. That either go to work putting on trim on the TR7, which would be a good idea to do, or go over and do some work on the Volkswagen van, which would be a good idea to do. So what'll I do? Well, you'll see. You'll know before I know. Yeah, there's the TR7 there. Now, I went out and I did lawn mowing and all that kind of stuff, eh? So, but this thing here, back onto the Porsche. Now you all know how much I really like doing things 2 times or perhaps 3, right? So in here, oh dear me, where is it? Right there, yeah. That's the fuel distribution thing, right? And where did I put that? Wait a minute till I find what I lost here. Yeah, so right there, see that? Now, the other day, yesterday I think, I went over and I saw this on the floor, and I said to myself, that looks like something that is a part of something. So then I looked back, I looked back at this, and I tried to find it in the book. Wait, I'll show you in the book too. Yeah, so here's the diagram on the book. Now, that thing, see this actuator here, it goes up into there, but it doesn't show a spring in there, right? But there's supposed to be a spring in there, but it doesn't show anything in the inside of that. So anyhow, this, I'll have to take this off, I can pull this out, and then I'll be able to put that spring back in. It's supposed to go on top of that right there. Now, how do I know that? I know that because there's a channel called, what's he called? He's called, hang on. Yeah, there's a channel called Restoration Apprentice, and he does a very, very, very fine job of cleaning things up and making things right. And he shows how to take this all apart and put it all back together and put a rebuild kit in it and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, there you go. That's what's up here today. I'll just take it apart. And what happens is this spring on here pushes down pressure on that, so that when this thing here lifts up, it allows that little indentation drops down to where, so to let fuel in. Hey, anyway, that's the way that is. Then at the same time, I'll see if I can get this part here is the flow controller. So if it gets too much pressure, that'll release and let the pressure out. And I think that it needs to be cleaned up a bit too. I never did get it out last time, but I'll give it a better effort this time now that I know what it looks like. Yeah, there it is. That's all of the fittings are off there. Now I just have to undo that screw, and that screw. And that thing should pop off of there. Should. Famous last words. This is where the pressure regulator thing is, right in there. So I'll see if I can get that out. And I'll try and make sure that I don't lose that pin when I'm pulling it out of there, because the pin will drop out. Perhaps. We'll see. Yeah, there it is. So this pin just very easily comes out of here. It's just a tight fit in there. And then that spring will go on top of that. Let me find my spring. Where did I put it now? Over here, I thought I had it. Here it is. So this spring here just pops right in there. It's that law. Then the pin goes back in. I'll put a little bit of lube on that before I put it in there. Anyway, there, I'll do that, and then I'll show you what I do with the other thing there, the pressure release valve. I'll see if I can figure that out. Yeah, so there's that pressure release valve, and there's the spring and everything goes with it. But there's supposed to be a ball bearing, right? 19 ball bearing. And I don't see a ball bearing. Nothing came out of there, so I'll have to do some hunting around, see if I can find a ball bearing that'll fit there. That, you know, there's lots of stuff that'll make difference on the fuel of this thing, eh? Yeah, so stuff that you keep hanging around. Here's that's an old bicycle that I used that became part of Paul's motorcycle in his garden. Now, that, you can find that, if you find a link to my sculptures somewhere or other, you'll see Paul's motorcycle that I made. Anyway, the ball bearing that came out of that looks to be likely about the right size. Who knows, eh? But I think it's pretty close to the right size. And it's likely way better than no ball bearing. So that's just out of the race. Like I took apart the back wheel, and don't you know, 2 races of ball bearings in there that are ball bearings. I'll just keep them around for next time I need a ball bearing, eh? Yeah, that was a great hunt, but it's not supposed to be a ball bearing, eh? That thing there is a little O-ring that's on the end of it, which is already there. So when I put this together, it wouldn't tighten in because the ball bearing was holding it back. So all that hunting for a ball bearing, which was quite successful, and I now know where an unlimited supply of ball bearings are, I'll find another use for it somewhere else. So doesn't go in there. Yep, but I was able to get that out. I cleaned out the shaft and everything like that, so and put a little bit of lubrication on it just to get it started. So it should be all right now. Yeah, now this thing here, now that I've got that spring in place, see, now that'll do a little bit of moving up and down like that. So that pushes on the pendulum arm. It pushes down on the pendulum arm somewhat. Maybe that adjusts things. I don't know. Anyway, I'll put it back together, see if there's any difference. Likely no difference, because I think I'm still a fuel accumulator would be the answer for everything. Oh, to be wrong on all counts here. So the ball bearing wasn't supposed to be in there, which is the first thing that was jamming. Then when I put it together with that spring in there, it wouldn't allow the bellows to come up, or like that spring was holding it, making it so it would only go that far, and putting way too much tension on that. I think that thing's got to move fairly easily. So it must be flow pressure that keeps the pin down, and then, or gravity, right? Gravity and flow pressure keeps the pin down, and then this thing makes it so it lifts up and then allows fuel to go. So I'll just put it back together the way it was, and that's the way I'm pretty sure that's the way it has to be. Anyway, that's all I know for now. Yeah, so still non-starting, but that's not a surprise, right? Anyhow, I'll wait till I get the fuel accumulator here. I'll likely order a rebuild kit for this thing here anyhow. It comes with a new plate and stuff in there, and that'll be later. But I'll get the rebuild kit, or I'll get the accumulator, see if it'll start with that. If not, then I'll keep chasing things down until I make it so it starts. Anyway, that's enough for the Porsche for today. We'll go back to Triumph, or maybe Volkswagen, but Triumph I think for now. Actually, Volkswagen I was doing a bit of stuff on there yesterday, but I'll show you that later. Yeah, so here I am underneath the Porsche, right? I'm underneath the Porsche 924. And then, you see that, I don't know, can you see that? There's a, right up there, that fuel hose there. Where's my hand? Oh yeah, oh, now, come on now. There we go, that's better. That's the fuel hose there that comes down to the pump over here out of view. And it goes up across there to where they've got it joined onto a junction in the pipe. Now it's a rubber hose, and that's way too much rubber hose in a high pressure system. There's got to be 3 feet of rubber hose there. So what I want to do now, and I've cleaned out the old stuff. I found the old hoses, and let me see, Dakota quite nicely left them in the car. This right here is where the can you see my hand there? Yeah. Right there is where the fuel, that device that I bought, I'll remember the name here soon, but it goes on there, and that will be required bit of business there. So I've got to make a new connection on the fuel pump over here somewhere. I don't know if you can see over here. Right over here is a fuel pump. Where is it? Everything's so close. I think I'll get the car lifted up a bit higher so that I can get underneath here more easily. And so that hose got to be taken out of there. And I've got most of the old hose. The only thing that was really plugged was the check valve. So the hoses seem to be good. Just the check valve was bad. So I'll put the hoses back on. I may order new ones eventually, but for now I'll just put the hoses back on and see if I can get the thing to run. I think this new fuel pump has got a check valve built into it, so I don't have to worry about that check valve. I'll just start getting it apart. I'll lift it up a bit higher. Oh, there. It's all underneath there, eh? Anyway, I'll lift it all up a bit higher and see what I can come up with. Where am I? Well, here I am. Way ahead of you again. So here, this is the fuel pump, right? And that's the original hose from the fuel pump right there. And this, the reason that it wouldn't go before was this, this is what I called a stop valve or a check valve. And that check valve was plugged up. So I cleaned it out and it seems to work all right again. Here's the check valve that came with the new pump, which has there's a big old head that goes on top of that covers this business down here, and this particular car didn't have that, or it doesn't have it now. Anyhow, so that's all right. Then the accumulator, which came the other day in the mail, it goes into this bit here, which, you know, it hangs on underneath the car up there. Maybe I'll clean that off a bit before I put it all back together. And then it's held on by a strap. I just finally found a strap that would fit. And this is the hose, the original hose that came out of the cars right here. And it works fine, and it doesn't seem to be, it seems to hold pressure okay. So I'm going to put it back on. Now the guys, when they were fixing this, they decided they'd cut it here. So I'll just have a hose, like a rubber hose there joining the two, and that will be safe again. This long rubber hose was going from the fuel pump to that connection there, and I don't think it's real pressure stuff. Like it's not it's 3/8 hose, but I don't think it's made for fuel injection pressure. It's fine for just a joiner, but it's not for the whole length. It wouldn't hold the pressure very long before it gave out, and then you'd be unhappy. So now I'll just keep on putting it together. Yeah, so I decided to take off the wheel here. Makes life easier. Anyway, there's the fuel accumulators in there, and this hose here comes down to the to the fuel pump here, which isn't in there yet. So the next thing is getting the fuel pump into place. This thing here, there, see that? That's where there's a clamp that goes on there to hold everything together afterwards, right? And it also holds the gas tank in place. So, you know, you want to be careful moving that around. Hey, that looking in the right space? Yep. So I'll carry on. Next is the fuel pump going into it. Then I have to get the new hose, like I fixed the hose to go across to the other side there where they had it cut. Yeah, so there now, that's the fuel accumulator. And I put the original piping back onto it. And that's the fuel pump back here. Can you see that? I don't know. Yeah, there's my finger. Right in there is the fuel pump. So I've got the original hosing back on there. And where they had it cut across the other side, I just put a patch in, like a short piece in there, and the metal comes up to meets each other there, so should be good. And now, what do I want to do now? Now I'm going to turn on the ignition, let the fuel pump get some pressure in it, see if anything leaks. Then, then we'll see if we can get it to bleed out here. That shouldn't be too tough to make it happen. So here, see what happens here. Fuel pump ran. Yeah, you can hear it running. Now, it should have some pressure there by now, I think. Oh yeah, enough pressure to make it leak. Something's leaking. Oh yeah, I see the hose that was leaking. Okay, gotta be fixed. Yeah, so now I'll just take that apart and take that hose off of it. Then I'll check the other side there. I don't think it was leaking on the other side anywhere. I don't see any drips anywhere. So I'll get this hose here looked after, fix it, and then we'll get the next hose done. Okay. Yeah, there now I put a new hose where up here in that part that was leaking. The only part of the old hose that's left is right there, and the rest is all brand new. And it's injector type hose, so it's a little bit stronger than what was in there before. Now I'll give it a twist and see what happens when I turn on the ignition. See if it... Oh, the ignition's on. All that time. Oh well. Let it pressure up here. Sometimes it clicks on there and sometimes it doesn't. Well, let's see if there's any pressure in the up here now. We'll see if there's anything leaking back here, number one. Right? I don't see any leaks back here. So now I need to get a wrench to get that. Just loosen up one of these things up here and let it bleed out here. Yeah. Yeah, there's lots of pressure there. Oh boy. I don't know. Might run this time, you never know. These are pieces for it. Where I've been pointing all over the place, eh? You never know. Might just run. Might just go. Lots of pressure on there. Don't know how much air is in the system. Likely lots. Well, there, lots of try, nothing going. See if there's any leaks back here now. I think we're okay. see what that is there. There's drip on the ground. Is that right there? Where's that dripping from? Oh yeah, so that needs to be tightened there somehow. I'll get to that. Not very much drip, just a bit. So we'll get that sorted out. Put that right where it was, eh? Barney's barking away up there, wanting to be out. Give it one more crack here and see what happens. Well, actually what I'll do is I'll put some fuel through to the system there, right? You can't really see what I'm doing, but I'm pushing up on that plunger in there. See if that'll get some fuel into it. Nothing. Do I have it flooded now? I don't know. I think it's a cold start. Okay, well that's all for today anyhow. Yeah, talking away to nothing. Hey, that's normal. So I got a bit of work to do here to figure out there's a little tiny drip coming out of there somewhere. So I think I just don't have one of those pipes tight enough. And so I'll check that out and then we'll go from there. Yeah, so I had the, what the hell goes on here now? Okay, so that's the car. That's the floor. You don't see any, what do you call that? No, dear me. No drips there now. Now I had this camera set on slow motion. I don't know how long it's been set on slow motion, but I'm not that fast a mover anyhow. We'll just see what it looks like after. Yeah, okay, there now. I've pressured up the system. I don't see any drips in there now. Yesterday's dripping might have been from when I was dicking with it earlier. I'll feel up here, see if there's any wet. No wet up there either. So I think I might have the leaky stuff cured. Now, is that gas or is that oil over there? I don't know. I'll have to reach up and see. Okay, I'll check it out. Yeah, that black dot up there is old oil from 100 years ago. So, looks like the leakage is stopped. No leaks. So I'm happy with that for now. Now I'll see if I can get it to run. Yesterday, not running. Today, likely not running, but I'll give it a crank. You know, what's the craziness, I'd say. Doing the same thing, expecting a different result. Well, see if I get a different result. No different result. So I think the cold start valve is what's happening here now. Because I'm sure there's enough pressure there now. Yep. Anyway, now lots of pressure in the system. I'll see if it's leaking any. No, dry. That's good. Good enough. Okay, that's all for now. Make sure it's dry here. Yeah, it's all dry. Everything's dry. Yeah. So now, in here, I think I've got the fuel pressure working right. Now, the next thing is the in underneath, I've taken the distributor cap off, and down in back there, there's a thing called, oh, what's it called? It's called a cold start thing. These two lines here go to it, that line and that line. So now, and it can be a problem, so I'll pull that off and see if it is a problem. It just sits on the motor, and it doesn't hook onto anything except that that's where it knows if it's warm or cold, and it gives more fuel to the system if it's cold. And it seems to be one of them things that'll stop it from starting. Hey, a starter stopper. Anyway, I'll take the distributor out and I'll move it out of the way, and then be able to reach in there. Yeah, no, that was a painful bit of work getting that out of there. It's very, very tight fit right in here, right? You see there, right in there. Then all this other stuff's in the way, and there's wires hooked onto it, 2 fuel lines hooked onto it. The coil was in the way, the distributor's in the way, whatever this thing it is was in the way. And then while I'm here, this thing here, which is the heater control, there's a piece missing there, so it's not working at all. But I should really take that off, and well, I don't have a new one to put on there, so I won't do that right now. Anyhow, here's the bit. There's the cold start thing, right? Now I'll just take the back off it here and see if it's all filthy dirty in there or something, if it's clean. Well, if it's clean, then I don't know what to do, but if it's dirty, then I'll clean it out. Yeah, so here's what it looks like inside. This is a heat pad. I imagine that this is one of those piece of metal that bends when it gets heated. There's a spring holding it down here, and this thing here goes into the spring, and it's a little, it's full of yuck anyhow. Whoops, sorry. There, I'll point here now. It's a little thing with a, goes like that. But this end here comes in and out, but that's full of yuck. This thing here got a rubber seal there, but it's got a bunch of yuck in there. Not too bad. So what I'll do is I'll take apart that inside there and take apart that part there and see if it's clean in there. Yeah, so way down deep inside, there's an O-ring in there, and then there's this part here. That's like there's a little, this is a tiny piece of steel here, right? Thin piece of steel. Then there's this bit here, which is where that little plunger sits in there. That little tiny thing there. That pushes against there, and that closes that valve when the motor warms up. Okay, that's supposed to work that way, I think. Anyway. Yeah, boy, it's a good thing I take movies of all this, because I would have had this all upside down and backwards. So first off, this goes underneath the spring, and then the spring goes into over the top of that. So I'll see if I can't get that together right. Yeah, so there now, that is the way it sits in here. The spring goes on top of that. When it's cold, that thing comes up and opens the spring, so it should open the valve in there for pressure to come through, but I imagine it takes some pressure to get through there. I'll just see what happens if I blow some air through it after we're done here. Yeah, so near as I can tell, it's working now. This is inlet, that's outlet. So this side here is the pressure side. This side here goes to the fuel distribution system. So now I'll make sure that those hoses are going in the right place, number one. But it seems to work. I put some air pressure on here, and it blows through here. It takes quite a bit of pressure to make it go through, but it goes. Then when it heats up, when the motor gets warm, and this is an electric heater on it here, after a few minutes it'll close this thing down and stop fuel from going through, extra fuel going to the cold start. Like it's like a choke mechanism on a carbureted car. Yeah, it went together an awful lot easier than it came apart. Don't know why, but I guess that's the way things are sometimes when you know what you're doing again. Then this sort of just slips on here. That's on, right? Then the two fuel lines go in there, which I'll put on now. Then I got to figure out where all those damn vacuum lines go. And what they're supposed to do. Okay. Yeah, so still no running, and don't you know, I figure I better take the spark plugs out, and they're all wet with fuel on them. So there's definitely fuel getting in there, so I've got it flooded, right? But there's no spark happening. Now I've got spark to the front one, to the first plug, so let's see if I can get spark to this plug. Now, if you just watch out the front there, you might see spark to number 2, we hope. See what happens. Yeah, I don't know if you saw that or not. I don't know if I was looking there. But I definitely see spark going across, so that's a good sign. That's spark to number 2. We'll see if there's spark in number 3 now. It was also wet, so there's fuel getting in there. You might be able to see this. I think we're pointing in the right way. Should be pointing right over there. Sort of. Don't know what I'm looking at there. Now it runs, right? So, I guess there was no spark for the first 2 cylinders anyhow. So now that I'm this far, I might as well check into number 4 and see what happens. Yeah, so I wondered how to get the spark plugs out of this thing. It's so tight there, but I guess I need smaller hands for it, but I persevered. There's number 4 up there. Hopefully we can see that spark. Hopefully that sparks. Yep, lots of spark there. So that's good. Number 4 sparks. And that sounds like they're all wanting to kick a bit, so that's good too. Tony! Yeah, you want to go in the house, but we're not ready yet. And the doggy, he also wants to go in the house, but we're not ready yet. Yeah, Tony. Yeah, so me and the dog, right? So, anyhow, all 4 spark plugs are back together now. And in the car, what's going to happen here? It actually ran for a minute, hey? Maybe just move the timing a bit on it and see what happens. Yeah, try again. Hey. Poor thing, hey? Just about goes now, hey? That's way better than it was earlier. Oh, what a funny car. What a funny car. Yeah, that's it for today now. Still not running-ish now. I don't know why. But I'll keep on trying to figure something out. I'm coming back around to fuel pressure again. But it's hard to... Oh, I don't know. I'll pull out the... whatever you call those things, the injectors, and see if they're actually getting anything going in. Because it seems to pressure up and have enough pressure there for the first crack, and then no more fuel. So something's going on either in that Jetronic thing or somewhere. Maybe I've got something wrong in there. You never know with me, eh? Do it 3 times. Get it right. Yeah, so here we go. I'm built a little contraption for, well, mostly leaking fuel. But I've got that hose hooked onto here, which is a pressure unit. See if I can get this thing to settle out right. So anyway, that will show pressure on the fuel pump, from the fuel pump. From the fuel pump? Yeah. If I ever get it up here where you can see it. So I'll just open the door, falling all over the place, you know. Here's what the fuel pump does. Now I think it went around to, I don't know where it went to, but I think it goes to about 100. It doesn't always pump up. But there, like it goes to 100, then it drops off pretty quick because I'm leaking fuel there. So it's not a drawdown type of test. But fuel pump's got lots of pressure. That's for sure. Now the next test, if I can get something hooked up to figure out how to, onto here, and then I can get fuel flow through that pump thing there, see what happens. Okay, now I did, this thing here is another leaky connection, but it sort of tells me a story. It's holding, 20 pounds of pressure there, or 25, just in there. And when I turn the motor over, it goes up to 65 or 70, which is the same as the pressure, like it'll go to the same pressure, equal pressure as there. So fuel's going through the plunger business, right? So I think now I have to get a rigging so that I can check the pressure on the flow through. So I got to get a connection that'll fit on there, on this one, somehow, and then get it to flow through somehow. I think I can set that up. We'll see. Okay, now I've got this thing all rigged up. So there's your fuel pressure gauge, right? And then this hose here comes from the top of that, which is where that goes to the fuel regulator valve over there, the one that I took apart yesterday. Then it has to be hooked into, like it's a straight line into that fuel regulator valve. When the fuel regulator valve, it goes out to it, and if the fuel regulator valve is working properly, it'll open up and let fuel through. If it's not working properly, it'll send it right back down through. If it's even if it's working or not, fuel will go down this line here into there and back into here, and then go out to the tank. So it should carry 30 pounds of pressure when it's running, and that regulates the pressure. That's the fuel regulator there. And right now, I think it's not got 30 pounds of pressure. There it went up in pressure and then back down. What happened there? Well, that's got 30 there. So that's a happy system. That's what it's supposed to be. So it's got enough pressure. The book says between 14 and 30 or 35, expectable control pressures at different outside temperatures, right? So temperature outside is 30 degrees. We're going to say 20 degrees. So we're okay. It's got enough pressure. So the next thing I'll do now is pull the injectors out and see if there's actually, but that, yeah, I'll pull the injector and see if there's fuel coming out the injector now. Yeah, so I don't think I filmed that little episode. So now, it's got fuel pressure, like proper fuel pressure everywhere, but there's still no fuel going out there, so it's in here somewhere. The regulators, each one of these has an individual regulator in it. Now, did I put something upside down in there? I don't know. I'll check it. I'll take it apart and see. Never know with me. I like doing things 5 times. Yeah, so me and, my friend the Jetronic here are on first name basis now. Been dating for a while. Anyway, so that's the plunger for the, where am I pointing? Yeah, that's the plunger for the pressure control. That seems to work okay, so I'm not going to dick with that. I'll just leave it in there, but the rest of it I'll take it apart and see what's going on. Maybe I'll even set up the camera and let you watch. Would you like that? Perhaps. Yeah, so there, now, see what happens. So I cheated a bit, and I went over to the vise and I just loosened these bolts a little bit. So, now I'll take them out with the screwdriver. Now I've been through all this before, so I'm getting pretty handy at it, right? Yeah, there now. I put some of that aircraft. This is aircraft aviation forma gasket. I put some of that around the that metal bit. See how that works out. One of the books says don't use it. One of the books says do use it. What do you do, eh? So I'll try it out. I have a kit coming for this soon that I'll take it apart again and put the new kit in. But I want to just see if this is what my problem is. Anyway, there we go. I'll put it back in the car. Yeah, still no go. But Change now is leaking gas down through here, so that means that center pin isn't sealed very well. So I have to wait for the new kit to arrive, and then I'll put it together properly and give it a go from there, because it's just, if I'm not working with the right stuff here. So there we go. I'll let it sit for a while until the kit arrives. Yeah, so here now, I don't know if you can see down there. I'll see if I can zoom that in. Don't know if that's zooming or, yeah, there. That's zooming. Yeah, there you can see way down there. There's a big old ship coming through there. That's, I think it's the Mazdan, which is a Holland American line passenger vessel. There's spent the day in Charlottetown, heading out. I think it's heading for Montreal. Very cool. This is the first time since the pandemic that we've been having ships coming in. I think that's about the 5th ship to come in so far this year. These guys come around once a week, or they used to come around once a week. I don't know if they will this year. So there you go. How's that? Cool or not? Eh? I'd say that's pretty cool. So there you go. The Mazdan leaving Charlottetown. Bye bye for now.